It was supposed to be a routine day at the airport, passengers coming and going, rushing to their flights. But for one black soldier in uniform, it turned into a shocking encounter that no one saw coming. Witnesses watched in disbelief as a police officer, clearly agitated, confronted the soldier for no apparent reason. His tone was sharp, his actions escalating quickly, and the tension in the air was undeniable. Despite the soldier's calm demeanor and visible military status, the officer continued to act aggressively, drawing attention from bystanders. Phones started recording, capturing every second of the unfolding incident. What happened next left everyone stunned, especially when the airport authorities stepped in. This wasn't just an argument, it was a moment that would expose deep biases and lead to immediate consequences. Stay tuned to see how justice was served in the most unexpected way, right on the spot. As the situation escalated, onlookers couldn't help but wonder, why was this officer targeting the soldier? The man stood tall in his military uniform, a symbol of honor and service, yet he was being treated with blatant disrespect. Passengers murmured among themselves, trying to make sense of the scene. Was it a misunderstanding, or was something deeper at play? The soldier calmly tried to explain himself, but the officer wasn't listening. Instead, his voice grew louder, and his stance more confrontational. People in the terminal exchanged uneasy glances as they watched the tension rise. Meanwhile, whispers spread quickly through the crowd. "Doesn't he see the uniform?" someone said. "Why is he acting like this?" The officer's actions seemed personal, not professional, leaving everyone puzzled. Cameras kept rolling as airport security approached, and all eyes were on what would happen next. Something about this situation didn't feel right. The soldier's calmness in the face of hostility only seemed to agitate the officer more. The crowd grew larger, with many now recording on their phones, determined to document the incident. A young woman in the front of the group finally spoke up, her voice shaking with both anger and courage. "Why are you treating him like this? He's clearly done nothing wrong." The officer shot her a stern look but didn't respond. Instead, he demanded the soldier provide identification, even though his uniform and name tag were in plain sight. The soldier handed over his military ID without hesitation, hoping to defuse the situation. But the officer barely glanced at it before tossing it back, his tone still accusatory. The murmurs in the crowd turned into outright protests. "This doesn't make sense," someone said. "What's his problem?" All eyes shifted to the airport security team as they arrived, their expressions unreadable. The atmosphere at the terminal was electric, a mix of disbelief, anger, and anticipation. The officer, now visibly flustered by the growing crowd, seemed determined to assert his authority. His voice cut through the murmurs as he told the soldier to step aside for further questioning. The soldier hesitated for a moment, looking around at the faces of the passengers who silently urged him to stand his ground. Before he could respond, an airport official stepped forward, a senior-looking figure with a commanding presence. "What's going on here?" he asked firmly, his gaze shifting between the officer and the soldier. The officer stammered, clearly unprepared to justify his actions in front of an audience. The tension peaked when another figure approached, someone in civilian clothes but with an air of importance. Whispers rippled through the crowd as they speculated about this newcomer's identity. The officer's face paled. Something was about to happen. As the newcomer approached, the room seemed to hold its breath. He moved with quiet authority, his eyes scanning the scene with a look of familiarity, as if he knew more than he was letting on. The officer, who had been so confident moments ago, now shifted uncomfortably, beads of sweat forming on his brow. The airport official leaned in and whispered something to the civilian, who nodded gravely before turning his attention to the soldier. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. The soldier nodded, but his expression showed a mix of frustration and restraint. Just as the officer began to speak, trying to regain control of the situation, the newcomer raised a hand to silence him. Then he reached into his pocket, pulling out a badge. Gasps rippled through the crowd as people realized who he was, someone with far more authority than anyone expected. The officer's face turned ashen. The badge in the newcomer's hand glinted under the airport lights, and murmurs spread like wildfire through the crowd. FBI, someone whispered, the realization dawning on everyone at once. The officer froze, his authority crumbling in an instant. The FBI agent turned to the soldier, his tone sharp yet respectful. "You've done nothing wrong. Thank you for your service." Then he shifted his gaze to the officer, his expression turning cold. "But you," he said, "have a lot to answer for." As the agent began asking pointed questions, the officer's stammered excuses fell apart. The crowd watched intently as the airport official stepped forward and confirmed the soldier's story. He had been nothing but cooperative. Then, to everyone's shock, the FBI agent revealed something even more stunning. "This soldier isn't just anyone. He's part of a classified operation we've been monitoring, and your actions have jeopardized critical work." The officer's face drained of color. The agent made it clear that consequences would be immediate and severe. As the officer was escorted away, the crowd erupted into applause, their cheers a mix of relief and justice served. The soldier, ever composed, simply nodded in gratitude before walking away, his dignity intact and the truth finally revealed. As the situation settled, the soldier quietly thanked the FBI agent before heading to his gate. His calm strength throughout the ordeal left a lasting impression on everyone watching. The crowd, still buzzing with the unexpected turn of events, couldn't stop talking about the bravery and professionalism he showed in the face of such blatant disrespect. Meanwhile, the officer's removal sent a powerful message. Justice had been swift, and the actions of those in power were held accountable. Airport security promised a full review of the incident, ensuring such behavior would not be tolerated again. For those who witnessed the scene, it wasn't just about one soldier. It was a moment of reflection on standing up for what's right, even as a bystander. As the soldier boarded his plane, the applause from earlier echoed in the hearts of everyone there, a reminder that respect and integrity should always prevail.